And apart from that, all web related development, on
Yes.
high level web related developments will be there. Okay. And we'll cover, little bit of MVC and ASP.NET, something like that. Okay. And in the later course, like we have entity framework. See, in terms of connectivity, probably I'll group it like this. Okay. So front end, it is ASP.NET and MVC. Okay. So in the data layer, so you will have entity framework, ADO, and link queue. So these are the three components that we will cover in the data integration path. Okay, data integration path. And third, on the what do you say? Ideally, it is like deployment related aspects, right? So I will cover certain part of IAS oriented deployments. Okay, so how it works, little bit of ADO instance. So those things I'll cover it off. And at last, we will close it with all the web development components. Okay. So when I say web development component, it includes this AJAX, state management, caching, so user control, how to use it. So those are the aspects that we are going to cover. And ideally, see, first thing, yes, definitely you need to know ASP.NET and MVC. But ultimately, if you see, .NET has moved from version 4.5 to version 5 or .NET Core 3.1. So currently, if you see, there is no ASP.NET or MVC in the market. It is only ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET MVC. It is like Core MVC.
Right.
Understood, right? So, I mean, again, I don't want to teach you the outdated version of ASP.NET. I'll cover the topics because see, as per syllabus, I'll have to cover certain things for you. That I'll cover. But there is no point in
outdated syllabus.
Yeah,
I
more
understand.
sticking into the outdated concept. So I'll drag you to the core concepts. Okay. So I'll teach you what is
so latest is ASP.NET MVC.
Latest is ASP. I mean, it is not ASP. See, okay, I'll anyways draft it. Okay, so how this breakdown is, everything I'll show you. Okay, that's why I wanted to have this introductory class today for you. Okay, I'll just show you what is .NET. First of all, what is .NET? So that is what you'll have to get into. So what is .NET? What is a framework? Like why Microsoft has come up with this framework? What all are there inside this framework? How we are going to use it? See, we should be able to understand where we use each framework. Otherwise, then see, people are saying, okay, use ASP.NET for web development. Some people are saying MVC. So when to use MVC? When to use ASP.NET? So that's the important thing that you need to be aware of. Okay. So for that, I'll just cover. See, my way of training is very simple. Okay. Get to the latest concept, Google it, find it. I'm fine with it. I have no harm if you Google and write some codes. But only thing is you need to understand the concept behind it. See, syntax, that's what you told, right? Like you have done training for C++, Python, everything. End of the day, if you see, right, if you know the concept, maybe syntax you would have forgotten. But if you see the syntax, you will still be able to write Python code.
Exactly.
So I will never concentrate on anything that is see, I'm least bothered whether you run it and show me debug it, whether you get the result, no problem. But if you tell me why caching is used, where to use it, if you can bring the appropriate use case for me, I'm very good. Okay, that's how the session is going to be. So next 20 30 odd days, okay, we are going to cover these aspects. Understood? So here, first thing, okay, I'll just first start with the overall not kind of framework. I'll see, I don't want to bore you with all this framework, this, that, and all. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what is important. Okay, first let's start with .NET. So see, anything that you're going to learn with respect to Windows, okay, Microsoft has given a framework called .NET framework. Okay, initially this .NET framework was tightly coupled with. Okay, remember these terminologies, very important. Okay, tightly coupled with Microsoft OS. You understood, right?
Right.
Okay, this is what .NET framework is built for. So I have something. Okay, I have my Windows OS. Okay, so whatever I am developing in .NET will support only Windows OS, nothing much. Understood, right? So initially it started with version 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 4.6, then 4.7. Okay,
Correct.
4.7. This all came into picture. Okay, and all of a sudden, okay, if you see here in my code itself, if you see, you will have an option. Okay, see here, .NET 5.0 or .NET Core 3.1. So in between this item, .NET came up with one more framework called .NET Core framework. Okay, .NET Core framework. This has the flexibility that it is not tied up with any OS.
It's not tied up with any OS.
Meaning the product that you develop with .NET Core framework can be installed, deployed, used anywhere, any OS. There is no restriction that usually what happens is you develop a mobile application. That particular application will work only in Windows phone, not even in Android, not even in Apple, nothing. But now any product that you develop in .NET Core can be deployed, used across platform, across OS. There is no dependency. So .NET came up with .NET Core 1. .NET Core 1.0. Okay. Then it went to 2.0. It went to 3.0. Okay. That's how it went. Understood? 2, 3. Or I'll put, this again, it goes off, right? .NET Core 2.0. Then the second one is .NET Core 3.0. Understood? Now, there are some frameworks in .NET, some frameworks in .NET Core. Microsoft was confused. Why I'm confusing my, customers with so many, versions? They came up with .NET, okay, not Core or anything, 5.0. .NET.
Writing on screen, pardon sir, are you just writing on screen?
Yeah.
Actually, you have not shared your screen.
I have shared my screen. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, just give me a second. Why? Okay, now can you see?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
see.
see,
Yes.
first .NET framework, okay, 4.7 till 4.7, which was tightly coupled with Microsoft OS. Then .NET came up with .NET Core framework. It is not tightly coupled with any OS, and it released 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Correct? So this is what Microsoft released. So you already have so many versions, right? So obviously customers will have a doubt like why so many versions are coming in. So .NET came up with a common version, which is like .NET 4.5.0, which will have .NET framework support as well as .NET Core support. Understood?
Correct. Correct.
Any doubts in this till now?
No.
So currently 5, 6, 7, it goes on like that. Okay, that's why I said, right? See, now ASP.NET is this side, somewhere this side, ASP.NET. Okay, comma ASP.NET MVC. Okay, here it is ASP.NET Core. You understood, right? Core, comma ASP.NET Core MVC. You understood, right? So currently we are having only this. You have enrolled for this course. Okay. Ideally, the course that you have enrolled is for this, but the current market has moved to core. So what we will do is we are upgrading. So I will teach you this plus this, and altogether how you will be able to extendably use, web development. Understood? So ideally in the market, right, if someone, if it is more valuable to know core than you say I was working in 4.7. People are going to ask you which version of .NET core you are using, otherwise which version of .NET you are using. So you should be in a position to tell them that, boss, previously I was working with .NET 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 and 4.8. Okay, later I started working with .NET core 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. Now I'm currently working with .NET 5.0 and 6.0. If you tell the version itself wrongly, then people will easily understand that you have not learned anything. These are like framework level information. Any doubts?
No, no doubt.
You're clear with the framework, right? Anything? So can I move to the next topic?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, on a high level, components are divided. Like, .NET framework has some components, like one is web component. Okay. One is app component. Okay. The third one is web app Windows component. Okay. And the fourth one is console component. Okay. So any .NET framework, has these four components available. Okay. Okay. What are the four components? Web, app, Windows, console. Okay. So console is nothing but, a black screen. This you are sure, you must be aware of, right? A black screen. Ideally, console is what? A black screen. So if you see command prompt, so that's a black screen, correct? So what is this Windows component means? Windows component is nothing but some application, some Windows application like PowerPoint. This Visual Studio itself is a Windows component. You understood, right? Correct. It's a Windows application, right? .NET exe is installed. When you click on that exe, something is opening. So ideally, that particular Visual Studio itself is a Windows component. You understood, right? Which is installed in your machine. So Windows component are installed in the on-prem machine. On-prem machine is nothing but your local machine. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in this till now? Okay. So what is app component? App component is nothing but API, application programming interfaces. Interface. Okay. This is app component. What is app component? It is application programming interface, APIs. So current modern world is all derived out of APIs. So there is no tightly coupled. There will be standalone APIs which can be holding your business logic, where it can be used in any application, like mobile application, console, Windows, web, anything. Even you write a web API. Okay, you can use it in Angular, React, Vue.js, ASP.NET, MVC, Core, anything. So your business layer is separated, and that's what we call it as API. Previously, people were using WCF, then web services. So all these. Okay, understood, right? So in app component, API, WCF, and web component. And similarly, web component, what all are there? There are two. One is ASP.NET. Now ASP.NET MVC. Currently, these two versions has core MVC. Similarly, the other one is core ASP.NET. So this is how your components are broken down. Any doubts in this? Can I move to the next one?
Can I get these notes? No.
I'll be sharing you the material. Don't worry about
Okay, okay. Then I'm not writing, right?
it. It's okay. It's okay. That should be fine. You don't have to write it. See, most of the time, right? Rather than writing, understand what is a concept. See, I've
Yes.
given you four components. So ultimately, now what we have learned is very simple. Any day if someone is asking you, you should be able to tell all these things. That's
Right,
what
right.
my ultimate goal will be. So .NET framework, .NET
One,
Core
one, one
framework.
question is there. First,
Mhm.
it started with ASP.NET, then it moved
Correct.
on ASP.NET MVC.
Mhm.
After that, Core MVC, and now Core ASP.NET, right?
Core MVC and ASP.NET, Core ASP.NET, both are in the market. It came together.
ASP.NET Core MVC, right?
Correct. So ideally, this is how .NET is broken down. Okay, ideally .NET is broken down. Okay, there is one more concept which is called data integration. Data integration is nothing but DB component. Okay, this is the last one, ideally. Okay, so here, what are the DB components? So ADO.NET, it started with ADO.NET. Okay, later what happened? They said entity framework. Entity framework. See, now you take any application, you will see all these components. Understood? You will see all these components. Understood, right? Any application that you're going to create in in .NET, it will be either one or it is integration of everything, something like that. Understood? Now
Understood.
what are we going to do? So what we are going to learn? There are so many items listed here. What is that we are going to learn? Simple. We are going to learn web development. Okay.
Correct.
This is the component I'm going to teach you. Maybe in next 20 odd classes, what we are going to go through is just web development.
Correct.
What is a
Correct.
web development? First of all, what is a website? What is the use of a website? Why do we use websites? Who is developing these websites? Any idea on that?
No, website means we have websites now. So we search and we just fill up the form if it is required, registration form, all this form, or
Now,
like that. As an
why can't it be Windows form?
yeah, because this is server based, so URL based. So from anywhere in the world, I can do that. It is not a
Perfect.
desktop application.
Exactly. So desktop application means it is installed in the local desktop. It cannot be,
Yes.
accessed anywhere from the world, right? So, web development comes into picture. Websites are there which can be accessed via,
URL is there. If you give the URL, so I can access the resource.
correct. So it goes to the network layer, and there are, topological layers. So, from HTTP request, you are getting the URL, getting the,
Correct.
HTML, the content. So whenever you load a URL, what is the data that you are getting?
Pardon?
Whenever you load a URL, what is the data that you get back? So for example, now I'm opening, okay, one probably say, okay, I'll share one URL to you. Okay. Yeah, are you able to see my Google? You can see my Google, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you see one thing. Okay. I'm just typing www.google.com. Okay. So when I hit enter, okay, you go to inspect element, you see in the network, okay, there are some URLs getting called here. You see, there are so many that has got called. Again, maybe we can clear it and then, put it also. That's not a problem. See, I'm just clearing it off. Okay. And again, I'm hitting. Okay. Oh, just give me a second. Oh, sorry. It again opened. Okay. So some URLs are coming right in the network session. Okay, it went off. So here you'll be able to find the network trace of it. So directly, nothing will go to the URL that you are placing. If you do ping Google, right, it will go to the subsequent first load balancer, second load balancer, third load balancer, and at last it will hit the actual URL. It is called routing. What it means? Routing. So from the load balancer to the actual URL, we are routing that. Understood?
What is load balancer? Pardon?
Load balancer are nothing but, see, I have, one server which is sitting in UK. Okay. I'm going to do a connect to that server from India
Yes.
to UK. If I do a, direct connect, it will be very slow, right? So what I can do, I can, check whether that particular server has any replica in other region. Okay. So usually what will happen is there will be one server sitting in UK, one server sitting in US, one server sitting in Asia Pacific region, one server uh, towards Australia, one server towards Hong Kong, Singapore, something like that. People will be having servers. So whichever is your nearest, server, the request will go there. So they, from that server, this google.com will be resolved and it will be sent.
Okay.
For that, we use load balancer layer in between. So the URL will jump from one server to another server and reach google.com. Understood?
Okay. Okay.
Again, I'm going to the element section. What is this element section? So I just gave google.com and it given me Google web page. But what is this? What is this underneath? In the element section, I can see some coding. What is this coding? This is HTML. What is this? It is HTML. Hypertext
HTML. Yeah.
markup language.
Yes.
Why it is, see, now I don't know whether Google was developed using HTML or which language, I'm not very sure. But still it is showing in HTML only. Why? That the code that I'm developing in ASP.NET also has HTML only. The code that I'm developing in React has HTML. The code that I'm developing in Angular has HTML. It is because browser can read only HTML. It cannot read ASP.NET. It cannot read MVC. It cannot read Angular. It cannot read React. Clear with this concept? Browser can read only HTML. Browser can read what? A plain HTML. Understood, right? Browser cannot read anything else. Got it, right?
Got it.
Okay. So again, what are CSS? You understood about HTML. Okay. So HTMLs are nothing but, hypertext markup language, which is a design, language where whatever you want to see it in the browser, you are writing it in HTML. I'll teach you what are the syntax. I mean, I'll go into the concept later. Okay. On high level, first you understand what is HTML. HTML is nothing but a web design page, a static web page. Okay. So now again, this page, you see, if you see this Google, right, you have so many colors, correct? So many things are there in this google.com, correct? Ideally, there is some button, a button is in different format. This blue color is in different format. So you are able to see so many formats, right?
Right.
Correct. So all these colors, from where it is coming? Now that's the question. So this designing, this coloring, this sizing, see, for example, now this is one text box. Okay. So the text box, just give me a second. I'll just show you. Yeah. This is the text box, position. Okay. So minimum height, position is given, the background color is given. So let's see if we can, change the background color. Okay. So I'm just putting it, see, I gave blue and I'm able to change the Google font. I mean, Google color itself got changed. Correct. So with the help of, CSS, you will be able to change anything in the web page. Okay. But why it is, see, again, if I refresh, it will go. Why? Very simple. This code is done in my local machine. This CSS was edited in my local machine. It is not pushed to the server. If I push it to server, then automatically this will get reflected to anyone who is using Google. See, now this red color is shown only for me. If you open Google, okay, will you be able to see this red color? No. Why? Because I am changing this red color in my local machine. If I change it in the server, then it will be
And it
applicable
will
for
be everywhere. Yeah, it will be everywhere.
everywhere.
As you are
Correct.
locally, so it will be available only for your local machine.
Correct. So I just want to hide this button. I don't want this. I am feeling lucky. This button itself I don't want. Okay, what can we do? What can we do if I don't want this button at all? So we can go, we can add one more CSS. Okay, I can add one more CSS, say display none. Okay, it is not overriding. Why? Because Google has a check at the back end for buttons and all. Static components, it will allow you to change. Other components they will not allow, because button and all, if I manipulate it, then it will be a security issue, right? So I'll be able to do a cross forgery attack on all the sites. So they will not allow you to override. But again, colors, see, this is in blue color right now. We'll go and change this one. Okay, so yeah, this is that color which is in blue. All the anchor tag is in blue color. Can we change it to pink? See, it got changed to pink. Understood, right? So HTML is the one which is actually designing these components, where to be, what else, like, I mean, those items. But the coloring, the makeup for this web form is done by CSS. Understood?
Understood.
Clear, right? Now, there is one more concept which is called JavaScript framework. You know about JavaScript framework, right? Like, JavaScript framework is nothing but a mediator, for the web form. I can, see, I have a web form or a HTML page. From JavaScript, I'll be able to inject any script to my HTML and ask my HTML script to behave like whatever I say. Okay. So usually if you see console dot write line, okay, console dot write, console dot log. Okay. In JavaScript, console dot log, if you put and if you type your name or anything, it will print it. Now I can say console dot log a plus b. Now 10 plus 90. See, it is doing mathematical calculation. So it's a script. JavaScript is nothing but a script which can be injected to the HTML, where in that script you can tell what that script should do to that HTML. That you can tell. So HTML will see what are all the scripts that are there, and it will take the inputs from JavaScript, and then it will behave like that. Understood, right? So there are three components now that we have learned. What are those? HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So in web development, the major three components are HTML, okay, CSS, and JavaScript. Understood, right? Any doubts in this before I move to the next one? You got it, right? If you see, these are the three major components. So any doubts? What is JavaScript, what is HTML, and what is CSS in web development? In classic web development. All good, right? I'll move to the next one.
Yes.
So this was very classic. This was classic. Okay. Then Java came, .NET came, Angular came, React came. So many web frameworks came in picture. Okay. So each one has its own uniqueness. Each one has its own uniqueness. Okay. So see, for example, now people will start asking, like, why, when there is Java, why I should use .NET? So again, .NET is more simpler when you compare with JavaScript. Okay. Again, there is one more problem. People started asking, when there is React and Angular, why I have to use .NET? So .NET is like server based web development. React and Angular, Vue.js, everything is like client based application, client web development, client based web development model. Understood, right? So what is the difference between this and that? So .NET server based, other lightweight JavaScript versions are client based. Understood, right? So this is client based, that is server based. So again, now market is this design portion of it is getting evolved. Okay. So currently, people started using Angular, React, other latest, design frameworks. But still, .NET is not leaving. .NET is not leaving.
Leaving.
.NET has its legacy. It has its own, capabilities. Okay, it is serving most of the, use cases for web development. Okay, it
Correct.
is having security, so many other factors. Now,
Yes.
previously there was one problem. .NET framework was allowed to be installed only in the Windows server. So people who are using Linux, Mac, and other OS type will not be able to host .NET related applications. Okay, that
Correct.
was the drawback previously people had. If I develop something in Visual Studio, or in terms of .NET framework, I will not be able to use it in Mac, Linux, Red Hat, any other OS. Okay, so ideally I'll have to go ahead with Windows Server. Okay, React and Angular and all people started using with a small node server. If you see Java, previously Java had a Apache server, right? So if you have a Apache instance, you will be able to host any Java application. Correct. Similarly, if you have any node server, you will be able to host any React, Angular applications, which is like JavaScript application. So for
Correct.
JavaScript application, they will use Node and npm. Okay, for Java, Apache is the server. Okay, similarly for .NET, it was Windows IIS, which is the one which act as a server. Okay, and then it will host the .NET related applications. Clear with this? Any doubts? So Java, Apache, React and Angular, it was Node and npm, and for .NET it was IIS. Any
It was
doubts?
IIS. It is what is IIS?
It is like hosting server for .NET application. It is Internet Information Service.
Basically hosting server.
It is like it is a hosting platform where it will host .NET related application. It cannot host any other application. It cannot host Java application. It cannot host React application, npm, nothing. Understood?
Yes. Understood.
Yeah. So I can write it down. Just give me a second. So .NET, it was IIS. Okay. So for Java, it was Apache, and React, Angular, and JavaScript.
React and Angular is also Java based.
JavaScript based.
So backend programming also can be done with React and Angular.
There is other frameworks available. There are different, Node. Node is the backend. I've put right. Node is the Node.js. So this can be hosted in Node. And
Spring Boot also. So instead of Spring Boot, people can write Node.js and React
correct.
Angular for the whole web application.
Yes.
So there
Full
is no
web
need of
application.
Spring Boot also.
No need of Spring Boot. Node.js can solve the Spring Boot purpose. So ideally, the Spring Boot is nothing but Spring Boot. See, in .NET they say web API. Okay, here with Spring Boot you will do API. Correct. Similarly, Node.js API. That's all. So front end here, React, Angular. Okay.
So which
Here,
one in the market is more coming in between? If it is a competition between Java and Node.js, then which one is coming more and more popular?
see, any day you ask me, definitely there is market for everything.
That
Okay.
I understand. Not like that. You have market for everything. If you are skilled enough, you will get a job. That is fine. Just I am asking about in the perspective of technological progress and popularity and vastness.
No, see, that you cannot tell, right? Like, see, for example, I'll give you one scenario. Okay. So React and Angular are open source, ideally. Okay. So Node and other things are open source. There are some security concerns. I can still inject some, security vulnerable issues. So usually in banking application, you will not see these type of, open source, accepted. So you go to, any banking application, they will still use ASP.NET, Java and all, because they feel those are more secured. But if you want to develop a fancy, web store application, e-commerce application, Amazon type,
Then it is
Flipkart type,
Node.js and React Angular.
React and Angular comes into picture. So whenever, there is, you can compromise one item, then obviously, you can leverage this one. Understood, right?
Right.
So ideally, this is the background, that you need to know for now. Okay, I told you one thing. .NET will be, installed in IAS. Like, I mean, I told you, right? Like for .NET, the server is IAS. Okay. Now, when it comes to .NET Core, it can be installed in IAS. It can be installed in Node.js, anywhere. .NET Core applications can be installed anywhere. It can be installed in Kubernetes, Docker, Kubernetes, right? Dockers and Kubernetes. That's why .NET Core is, very important. .NET Core can be used, okay? .NET Core can be used across any server. Understood, right? Any doubts? So this is the high level overview of, a very, very, very basic, web development concept, which is related to .NET and their competitors. Ideally, whatever I told, the other terminologies, right? Other technical language, like, I mean, technological language, all are competitors of .NET, ideally. Understood? And I want you to be very clear on the framework. I want to be very clear on the, components. I want you to be very clear on the basic web development requirement. And at last, the different servers that will be hosting the web applications. Okay. So now, what is the basic requirement for creating a web application in .NET? That is the last concept for today. So I just want you to, okay, now I'm the customer. I'm asking, Deva. So Deva, I want you to, get me something like a web, website. Website has to be created by you. So, ideally I'm the customer, right? So you should ask what type of, application you want, what type of, website you want. And from that, you will have to decide on the technological stack. Okay, you understood, right? You will have to decide on the technological stack. Okay. And you should decide where it should be hosted. So if someone comes and tells you, okay, we are going to create a website. Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, right? Like, as I said, right? Like, I'll not go more into the syllabus. I'm going to give you a real hands-on on a website development. So we are going to sit together and create a website where you will use all the concepts. Understood, right? How we are going? Clear, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to, do a practical website, ideally, a development, where we will include web API, where we will include, what else? The deployment, we will use the designing, we will use database connectivity. So we will have this flexibility. We will try to include all these things. Okay. So DB alone, probably I'll not be able to spin up. If there is no DB connectivity, we can still use JSON document. Okay. That is one thing. Understood, right?
Understood.
So again, I'm going to create a website. What are the basic, prerequisites? First of all, any website you want to create, it should have the front end. What is front end? It's going to be, a website designing page, ASP.NET or MVC or Angular or React or what else? JavaScript or HTML. Okay. Ideally JavaScript, no, but again, I'm just keeping it for reference. Okay. So similarly, I need a backend logic. Backend logic is nothing but DB. DB can be SQL, Oracle, Postgre, anything. Okay.
Just for one, pardon, sir. In our course, which DB you are going to use?
We will use SQL.
SQL.
Yeah, SQL or JSC. For me, it is not about database, right? Like, so I can even see we are not going to, store anything in database and retrieve anything from database. Ideally, we are going to mock those data set. So it will be, you can keep it in JSON also, but I'll try to, show you some integration around it.
No, if
Okay.
it is not in database, then in real life, how can I use that? So I at least one database should be there and some tables should be there so that I can fetch the data and crude operations also can be done.
That's
So
what, like, I mean, that we can do it with JSON also. See, that backend can be anything. It's not like, you need a database. You can have a JSON structure, and that JSON structure is also schema. See, nowadays, web APIs are fully done with JSON format, right? So you will have JSON data. So if
but
you
you have to
see
store
Elasticsearch,
store it in some database, huh? Right?
uh, we will store it in a normal file now. Instead of, database, we will keep it in some file. You understood, right? Like,
But
see,
I think it will be better. At least you should install one open source database, and at least one class should be there. 4 5 basic crude operations with database using JSON.
yeah. I mean, shouldn't be a problem. That we can show it. Not a problem.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
mostly, my set is like, I won't prefer any relational database. Relational databases are getting outdated. Now it is NoSQL. If you see, Elasticsearch are getting boom, PostgreSQL, Cosmos DB, see, those are, the data stores. There, if you see, how data is stored. What is the difference between relational database and non-relational database? How the data is maintained in relational database, how it is maintained in non-relational database. Non-relational database holds JSON data. Relational database holds table, column, rows. Understood, right?
Right.
Currently in the market, if you see, any web APIs are built on top of json. But again, that JSON will be stored in some non-relational database, any database, Postgre. That's what,
So
like, I mean,
I
I'll
think
include it.
so you can at least give one class example with
Yeah, I'll give you, don't
no
worry, I'll give
SQL.
you anything, both I'll give you, SQL and
Okay.
NoSQL, both I'll give you.
Okay. Okay. No,
So
actually, I want to have the feel of that.
yeah,
So that
that is all straightforward, don't worry about that. See, ultimately, whatever I'm gonna tell now, we will be covering. Okay, front end, back end. The third portion is integration. What is this integration? It is web API. So we will be writing ASP .NET core. Understood? Clear, right?
clear.
See, that's why I said, right, the course that you have enrolled is ASP.NET and MVC. I definitely have to cover ASP.NET and MVC. Okay, that I cannot ignore. I'll have to. But additionally, I will try to, put in all these other frameworks also for you. Core,
Right. ASP.NET Core.
core. Similarly, I will show you one NoSQL database, because see, again, SQL is going out. The new format which is coming is, NoSQL. So that we
Right.
will concentrate. Okay.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
whatever I'm going to tell you, it will be bits and pieces for you. Okay. Ideally, what I'm going to teach you is how to develop a website. I'm not going to, create and give you a website. I'm going to teach you
No, no,
how to
I am.
create a website.
Yeah, I have
Understood, right?
understood. So I think there will
So,
be some projects so that where I can develop a website, a demo website, and dummy website,
correct.
and I can show you.
Yes, correct. Ideally, end of the session, we will have something like, okay, I have created this website. This website is for this purpose. I am putting some data. You said, right? Some data is getting stored at the back end. You are able to populate it. You are able to show it in the UI. You are able to design it.
Correct. Correct.
You can log in. You can do, registration, something like that. We will, end of this course, you will have this one.
Correct.
Got it, right?
Correct.
So this is the whole, agenda behind next 20 days. Okay,
Hmm.
so it will have front end, back end, and the integration. Okay, see, again, I will teach you link you also, ADO, link you, and entity framework basic. So all these things are the ones which we are going to cover. Clear, right?
Yeah.
Any doubts?
No. So
And
ASP.NET Core MVC will be there.
yeah, this core itself will cover both. One second. This ASP.NET will cover MVC also. Understood?
Okay,
So
understood.
I can put it like this, probably. It will be easy to understand. Okay, core
Okay, okay.
MVC.
Right, right,
Clear, right? So this is what we are
right.
going to learn.
Okay.
And again, there is no harm. There is no, as I already told you, right? Like there is no hard and force that, you'll have to join at 9 o'clock. If you are early, if you're free, that time also it's fine. If
Yeah,
you want,
obviously,
late,
if I am early, then I will ask, call you, and I will join early. No
perfect,
problem.
perfect. Yeah. So whenever you are comfortable, whenever you are free, just, let me know. I'll come and finish that session. And materials,
Okay.
again, there I'll have to submit materials for you. Okay. So materials, every weekend I'll be sharing you, the previous weekend materials for you to go through. But again, I don't encourage you to, go look into these text level materials. After we start the session, right, it's going to be real time hands on.
Exactly.
So
That is
I
neat.
even if you go and sit and read my material, right, you'll be like, what is this, so many, English text. But if you listen to my class, you will be able to develop that website
Understand. Yeah.
rather than,
Otherwise, I would have taken some textbook and I have gone through. There is no need of
correct,
this.
correct. So we will start developing. Okay.
It will take months to complete.
Perfect. Done, done. Don't worry. So next 20-25 odd days, I'll be completing you, a website, and I'll make you develop some websites. Okay.
Right, right, right.
Yes.